and anytime I'm called upon to talk on issues on health and safety, I'm always delighted. Today, I was informed that, well, it will just be a 15 minutes presentation, so, well, and it's going to be much more interactive, so I don't have much to say than to talk briefly about some health and safety management issues that, well, should be expected now that we have the rains coming. It's been raining, and what I keep asking myself is that, well, once it starts raining, what are the health and safety environmental issues that, well, for us as people working in the industry, what should come to our minds? And these are the things that, well, I would want us to share some knowledge on. First and foremost, once it starts raining, it means that, well, there are a number of issues that comes with it, and rains, and especially, have been found to be associated to almost all the 5 hazards that we have. Be it electrical, be it physical, be it mechanical, be it biological, be it psychosocial. I mean, talk about it. The rains are associated with all these hazards. Because once it rains and you don't keep your environment very clean, making sure that, well, the floors are constantly mopped. If you have wet floors, the idea is that, well, you're going to have people slipping, breaking their limbs, and that in itself is a physical hazard that we need to be very much aware of. With the rains, also comes with it the dissipation of chemicals. So for instance, well, blue skies, you grow crops using chemicals in growing crops, whether it's natural or, well, definitely. We've seen that, well, in some of the cases, because of the rain, there's this dissipation of chemicals that gets actually some plants to have excess of these chemicals in there. And that in itself presents a challenge as well. In organizations like GTP, where you also use some of these things for your product, it is important that, well, we understand that, well, the rains, as the rains come, they are associated with these hazards that we are talking about. Chemical hazards are in there. More critically is what we call biological hazards, and that is where I want to focus much more attention on. During the raining season, rather than we providing employees with individual raincoats, we tend to be sharing the raincoats. You go to departments and there are just 2 raincoats hang there. Well, everybody can use that same raincoat. There's something we call biological hazards. Biological hazards actually emanate from body fluids, including saliva, sweat, etc., etc. In the process, if I went to wear a raincoat, and in the process while I sweat in it, it is not disinfected, another person also goes to wear that same raincoat, all that we are exchanging body fluids. In our bid to cut cost, what we tend to do most of the time is that, well, that same raincoat is being shared by a number of people in the working environment. This in itself helps in introducing some strange illness to each other. And sometimes you might not understand what is happening in this environment. And it is important that, well, once the rain comes, which comes with this associated, well, we having to get people to, in any case, cover themselves very well, protect themselves against the rain. Critically, that we need to consider is that, well, let us learn also to make sure that, well, these are personal protective. It should be personal to the individual. It is not. I mean, in organizations, I mean, we share helmets, the hard hat, we share them commonly. But here we have people sweating in it and you are exchanging it across. You are transmitting diseases in the organization from one person to the other. All I'm trying to tell you is that, well, yes, and this environment of rains, these are issues that we need to. That's why we call it personal protective equipment. In our bid to get people to feel, let us make sure that, well, we are giving personal protective equipment. They should be for the individuals. Lest we complicate matters. We will only help shore up our bills in terms of, because well, in your bid not to have provided, the guy really has a medical condition, attends the hospital, and you will have to pay for it. You have not helped yourself in any way. So these are some of the things that I want to quickly bring to your attention. Another issue that I would want to critically emphasize on in the environment that we find ourselves is the issue of risk assessment. Yes, in organizations we conduct a lot of risk assessment, but I guess we miss out on some fundamental elements of risk assessment that I would also want to draw your attention to. Because lately, in conferences, in ILO meetings, in WHO discussions, so these are things that are coming up, especially with the psychosocial issues. And it's more the case that, well, in our conducting risk assessment, we only look at the work environment, but we don't look at the work itself. So normally when you bring in experts to conduct risk assessment, they have their check sheet, but they are just there, just checking out and just looking out for physical hazards. Those are very simple. Let me bring to your attention that, well, risk assessment doesn't look at just the work environment. It looks at the work content itself as well. So risk assessment is assessing the work environment and assessing the work itself. There's a reason behind assessing the work itself, because if you look at the definition for occupational health and safety, the joint definition as given forth by the ILO and the WHO, they state that, well, it is the adaptation of man to work and every work to man. That is the underlying reason why the work should be. So, as part of your risk assessment, you should also assess, we have what we call job analysis. The job analysis gives rise to two important documents: job description and person specification, which is the skills, knowledge, and ability that the person should have in doing the job. As part of the risk assessment, you ought to assess the person's job description and whether to find out also whether the person has the necessary skills, knowledge, and ability to perform the job. Because if the person doesn't have the necessary skills, knowledge, and ability, necessarily it will impact on the person's mental and social well-being. Occupational health and safety, as defined by the ILO and the WHO, states that, well, it is not merely the absence of disease and infirmity, but it is the promotion at the highest order of physical, mental, and social well-being. The mental and the social well-being of individuals will be affected if they don't have capacity to deliver on their job. Normally in incidents and accidents that occur on the job, it is when individuals lose it for a second. Mentally, when a person is not focused, that is what leads to accident and incident on the job. It is therefore necessary that as part of our risk assessment, we should also find out that the person has capacity to do the job. Do we do that in our organizations? We just talk about risk assessment, it's just looking at the work environment and and we are gone. But we've forgotten that when the individual lacks the skills, knowledge, and ability, when the individual lacks the capacity to perform the job, it is a recipe for disaster. This is to bring to your attention that, well, yes, you have been missing out on a critical element when it comes to risk assessment, which is assessing the content. Because, well, go back to any definition of risk assessment. It doesn't say that, well, assessing the work environment alone. It also speaks to assessing the content, the work content, which we miss out. Two things I am bringing to your attention. In health and safety management today, let us get the understanding that, well, health and safety management as it used to be in the past, it's not the same as today. Today, it has taken an important dimension in organization that, well, it is informing what consumers, which organization consumers would want to deal with. It is informing which organization suppliers would want to deal with. It is informing a whole lot of issues. So yes, our management of safety in organization should go a step higher than it has been. It is in the past that when we talk about safety, we just look out for just the physical safety issues. Lately, people are looking out for much more the mental and the social well-being issues. Health and safety and environment officials gathered here. My bit to you this morning is that, well, health and safety is not only limited to physical safety. There's something we call mental as well as social. You have managers, you have supervisors who interact anyhow, who insult people. You see, when they do that, they are impugning on the mental well-being of people. You owe it a duty to step in to get them to understand that, yes, you are doing your job. But in the process, get it right that, well, you are impugning on the person's mental well-being. It is very important that we draw their attention. We have so much focused on. When my very good friend was introducing me, he said, I'm an occupational health psychologist. I look out for, so now if you look at most occupational health issues, they are looking at well-being issues in organization. Well-being issues in organization. Which cut across. Well-being issues are not just physical issues. They include the mental issue, the social issues. We have many a times, well, the social well-being of people, we flagrantly. It is said that, well, work is supposed to be enjoyed, not endured. However, most people are enduring work. Which means that, well, their social well-being is being impacted on. One of the statements that I've made consistently, anytime I have the opportunity to speak to professionals like you, I say that the worst thing that we can do to an employee is to get the employee to go back home the same way. That is the worst, the same way he came to work. That is the worst. Because when you look at the definition of occupational health and safety, we have to make the individual feel better. We have to make the individual think better. We have to make the individual look better than he came to work. That is why it talks about promotion at the highest order of the physical, mental, and the social well-being. So if you cannot promote, promoting means that, well, you are supposed to make it better. If you cannot promote it, don't deteriorate it. Don't deteriorate it. Look at members of your organization. The guy comes to work happily, and because of the way supervisors talk to them, the way managers are talking to them, they go back home morose. They go back home mentally disturbed, and it affects the family even. My proposition to you, health and safety has moved on. Not just the physical. Give psychological or the mental. Give the social well-being some attention as well. It is very, very important. My last bit that I would want to state that, well, is get management of your organization to realize that, well, there is profit in health and safety. Many a times, organizations feel that, well, health and safety comes at a cost. When I have the opportunity to present at such fora to experts like you, I say that, well, enough of the emotional discussions. Anytime you would want management to, in any way, accede to your demands and perhaps raise their investment in the area of health and safety, you always want to prick emotional issues. Enough of it. Enough of it. It doesn't work. In the boardroom, we don't listen to emotional issues. I said this jokingly. When you come and you are presenting your case in the boardroom, last year we lost 5 people, and the following year we lost this thing, and you are crying. Yes, you lost 5 people, but as the work stopped, the work is still going on. We have replacement for them, so losing 5 people doesn't mean anything. Because board members are under pressure to employ. They have relations that they want to bring on board. So if you come and just say, last year we lost 5 people, and last year 3 people, well, it doesn't mean anything, because they are looking for opportunity for people to go so that they can employ more. They are under pressure. The language that board members understand, how does this impact on the bottom line? You lost 5 people. How did that impact on the bottom? That is what will get them to sit up. Move beyond the emotional issues. Discuss bottom line issue. Because what? Occupational health and safety issues indeed impact on the bottom line. Emotions don't work in the boardroom. Move a step further. As we lost these 5 people, this is the cost to the organization. Yes, lost time to injury was this period. As we calculate it, it is this amount of money. Yes, replacement cost to the machine was this amount of money. Yes, having to pay medical bills was this amount. When you calculate, when they look at it, say, hey, hold on a second. Let's look at it critically. This problem could have been solved with just some few dollars, which we didn't. That would give them that attention in the area of health and safety. Whoever deceived you into believing that, well, pricking the emotions of board members will get health and safety issues to work out, deceived you. He deceived you. Because in the boardroom, we are looking at the bottom line. Convince us how it impacts on the bottom line. That's why I'm saying that, well, health and safety has moved on. Health and safety, they say now, it is a science and an art. It is a science and an art. There's a science to it and there's an art aspect of it. You need to appreciate this bit and in the process, play the game very well. Take the game too. That's why I say that, well, go and in any case, use the central system of communication. Prick their conscience. Get them to understand that, well, the organization is losing out largely in not making sure that, well, our health and safety conditions in the organization is sound. Ladies and gentlemen, I would assume my seat for now. And when you have questions, I'll come in. Thank you very much.